Hey guys, welcome to the Jerry Rigger channel. Today's video is about me replacing my brake cable, the emergency brake cable on my C3 Corvette. The reason I'm having to do that, I've already replaced the pads or shoes, I guess you would say, as well as the disc brake. In these cars, there's kind of a drum brake inside the disc brake that gets used for the emergency brake. And I've already replaced the disc, which, like I say, acts as a drum, as well as the pads. And it's still, I've adjusted it all the way back, and I still have to pull the handle all the way up to get it to stop. Um, on all the forums and everything I've been reading about it, apparently these brake cables, they stretch out over time. It's a kind of a common problem from what I understand. So I'm going to go ahead and replace my brake cable. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and let's get started. All right, so right now, well, a little background about this video. This is one of the first videos that I started to make. Um, I didn't do a very good job, and a lot of it is just pictures. So a lot of this is just still frame. What you're seeing now is actually video from another video that I made where I had to take off the panels. So right now you're seeing a little bit of video of me just undoing some screws to remove the panels, but most of this video consists of me or just still frame pictures, I guess. And I'm just going to narrate my way through it. I almost scrapped this, but I thought, well, I didn't really see um, any videos out there of the brake cable replacement. So I went ahead and made it anyway, but it's not my best video. And like I say, I'll not that I'm great at making videos anyway, but at least, at least now I usually do actual videos. But this is all pretty much, like I say, once you get past the this pretty much intro here, a lot of it's going to be still frame. And again, like I say, I apologize about that. But then, and like I say, right here, I'm just going ahead and removing the panel, so that I can get access to the handle for the emergency brake, so I can pull the cable off of it. And again, this is all just video that I did actually for another, actually when I replaced the radio, I had to remove these saved panels. So again, just showing you where all the screws are, and be careful this spot right here. Mine's always been broke since I've had it, but it is a real thin part of the panel. It's really going to be real easy to break it in this particular spot. Like I say, mine's always been broke. It's been broke since I bought the car. But just be very careful in this one spot. And of course, I also have the cup holder, which I bought aftermarket, which I have to remove the screws for that too. This cup holder here. So again, that's just an aftermarket. It's the only place I could find that would really put a cup anywhere in the car. All right, so I did go ahead. Well, a little background. I went ahead and chalked up the wheels. I did it with bricks. Not the best thing to do. Real wheel chalks would be much better. And of course, I took off the rear tires. Now I put the car on jack stands. Now, when I was doing this, I was referencing a Haynes manual, and they recommended you drive the car over a pit, or you put it up on ramps. I couldn't see enough and get enough, or really just have enough room to work to get up under there. Um, I realized pretty quick that I was going to have to take the wheels off and kind of ignore what they said in the Haynes manual to do this. Okay, and just something I want to mention before I get into the video. These cars, well, anything that hasn't had its brakes replaced since like 1997, could have asbestos, and even probably even a year or two after that, as they dwindle away. Take your precautions if you're doing this. Just good idea to make sure that you're safe and you don't, bring that stuff home to your kids and all kinds of stuff get on your clothes, and asbestos is bad for you. Another thing I would recommend, put a little WD-40 on the adjuster for the brake cable before you get started, maybe even the night before, to help loosen that up. So when you get to that point, it's don't have the rough time that I had, I guess. All right. Now there's a couple of screws up at the top here. Oh, and by the way, it's been a long time since I did this and took these pictures, so I'm hoping I didn't forget anything in the meantime. If I did, I apologize. Let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate that. Again, I took the two screws out. There's one on either side, and same with the front screw in the front here. There's one on either side. I was able to get both of these with the socket, and then of course you have, well, if you look down in there, you can see the cable, and then you have the two bolts. There's one kind of towards the front there, and then one about down in the middle. On either side, you got to take all four of those screws out. Once you get that out, you see there's a nut down there on the bottom. You got to take that nut off and slide that. There's a piece of dowel run down there that fits through, and you can see it right there. That all has to be taken off. Once you get that off, you can pull that cable up out of that piece of dowel run and pop that rubber seal, I guess, off of there. And then you can go ahead and just pull the cable down through there. All pretty simple. Of course, once you get underneath, I was able to just route this down around through the pulley. I did not replace the pulley. They do recommend you replace the pulley. I didn't replace the pulley on mine. It looked to be in good shape. I did clean it up a little bit later, but so that takes it off, gets it all loose. At that point, I removed the spring on the front end of the cable, and I used this is a torque screwdriver. I was able to stick that in the end and use a wrench. Of course, I soaked this with WD-40, and it was a pain to get that nut off all there. But had I soaked it earlier, that would have made sense. Now these are the cables that I bought, and I do compare these cables. If you look, if you look at the ends of these cables, one's on backwards from the other. And I thought originally maybe the original one got put on backwards because it just didn't make sense to me that the way the new one is made more sense to me than the way the old one was. And maybe one of them was put on the wrong way. I don't know which one, but in the end I decided it didn't really matter, and I liked the way the new one was on better than the old one. So just a note. Now another thing I noticed is that the new cable is actually smaller than the old cable. Now I was a little concerned about this as well, but it occurred to me, I think that the old cable is some sort of an alloy, probably to help to reduce weight. The new one I think is probably a steel cable with the rubber jacket. So I kind of just again I think it's fine, but just again another note. Plus it kind of occurs to me that maybe the reason that the old cable is stretching out is because it is made of some kind of an alloy, and and having the steel cable might be better, might not stretch out as much. But the biggest difference that I noted is the end of the cable. This is where you adjust it. And if you'll notice, there's a lot more adjustment on the new one. And at this point, I actually even considered, well, gee, do I even need to replace the other cable? Because adding this cable in with the additional adjustment might be really all I need to get the cable to, the adjustment so that I don't have to pull the lever all the way up before it finally starts to break. But since I'd already bought the other cable, I decided to go ahead and replace it too. But just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm taking it around this time. I must have decided to get a refreshing drink, and you can always tell when a drink is at the perfect temperature, like a soda. When you crack open the top, it's all liquid, but the minute you crack open the top, it kind of freezes over the top. I'm just saying. All right, so next I decided to go ahead and route the new cable back up through the hole, through the pulley and then up through the hole, just to make sure I got it in there. And of course, installation is basically just kind of the reverse of unremoving it. You just go ahead and put the cable back in, route it through the piece of Dalron or white plastic at the front, put the nut back in, and then put the 4 bolts back in that hold it in place. And then I stopped there. I left it open in case I needed to get in there again. And then I started for the rear cable. Of course, you can see here that I just used a screwdriver to tap out those rings, I guess you'd call them, that are holding it in place, or clips, whatever you call them. Pull them off from, there's 2 places. You gotta get the one on the frame, and then the other one up on the swing arm. And then from there you have the spring. You got to pull the cable out from in there. Now, this is where I kind of had to make a choice whether I'm going to pull off the caliper, which I think is the better way to do it, to be honest with you. I decided to go ahead, just for the video, to do one of them without pulling off the cable or out the caliper, and the other one with pulling off the caliper. This is the one I did pulling off the caliper. A little hint: remove the bolt that's easiest to get to first. This one, these bolts were on there good and tight, and I had to stick a pipe on the end of a breaker bar to get the one loose. Of course, once I got the one out, I was able to pry up on the caliper, kind of get that caliper moving, and that made it a lot easier to get the other bolt loose. And so I was able to, at that point, pull up the caliper. And of course, I cleaned up the bolts. I did reuse the bolts. Another hint: when you're putting the calipers back on, use 2 putty knives. Those 2 putty knives, you can kind of stick those down in front of the brake pads, one on each side in front of the brake pad, and then just kind of slide that caliper down, and that'll compress those pistons out while you're sliding it down there, and you can kind of open up those pistons. Makes a big difference to get those calipers on. Maybe you have a better way, I don't know, but if you do have a better way, let me know. I found that to be the easiest way, because those 4 pistons, they each want to push out when you push one in. So But that's been the way that I've been doing it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good picture of it. Um, but so that's why you're just seeing, the picture of the um, putty knife. All right, so once I got the ball out of the brake shoe on the one side, or the lever, and I had to, of course, go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. Get the clips off, and pull these the brake line off the other side. Now, comparing these cables, they are different. They look different, but they're the same length as near as I could tell. The black again, coating on the one side was different, but overall kind of look like the same. Alright, so at this point I'm putting the new one on. Again, making sure that I get all the clips and everything on. This is me trying to get the new cable on the side that I didn't take the caliper off on. And I gotta tell you, what a pain. I did eventually get it to go on, but between the caliper being in the way and the brake line being in the way, I gotta tell you. Now, I suppose if you're standing up on, you're driving the car up over a pit, or maybe you had the car up on a lift, this might be easier. But trying to do it with the car up on, jack stands or even ramps, I couldn't imagine trying to get it off this way. I think it's, just way too hard. Maybe there's other people that are, of course, I'm also trying to film this at the same time while I'm doing it, but which just makes it that much harder. But as you can see, I ended up using a spring tool to try and pull that ball out, just to make sure I had it seated in the in the actual arm of that brake. You can see right here where I made sure that it was actually seated there, because I was just really nervous about that not being, popping out of there. But then again, this is, want to make sure everything was in there right. All the clips put back on. Put the cable now. Here's where I ran into a problem, and I don't know if it's so much of a problem as just a discrepancy. But if you look, I'm putting this back on the way that it came off, which was with the nut on one side of the bracket and one on the other side of the bracket. But when I looked in the Haynes manual, I had both nuts on the bracket like the way it is in this picture. Now, obviously, I didn't know which way was right. The Haynes manual, again, both the nuts were locked together just like they are in this picture. So I went online, I looked up, the diagrams, cable diagrams and stuff like that, and all of them showed them like this, with all of them that I found anyway, that with the two nuts locked together. So that's the way I decided to do it. And it makes sense to me to be able to lock those two nuts together, tighten those two nuts down together, so that they won't come loose. Because if I tighten them up on either side of the bracket, then they're only going to be as tight as that bracket is strong, as that bracket tries to bend in once when you tighten it up. So it made more sense to me to have it this way. All right, so at this point I went ahead and tried to use a spring hook to put the spring on, but it was a lot easier to just use a pair of channel locks. These are needle nose channel locks. They work really good. Get that spring back on. And then again, that's kind of what it looked like. But I did kind of run into a problem. What I noticed is that the cable was actually kind of laying across the tailpipe, the exhaust. I was concerned about that getting hot, melting that shielding, plastic shielding they have on there. So I did decide to go ahead and just kind of drill out the mounting bracket just a little bit, to kind of slot that hole, so I could raise that up, and that just got it, just a hair bit higher to get the cable actually off of that exhaust. I can only assume that the reason that it's touching the exhaust is probably because the exhaust, isn't quite installed right, or maybe got bent up a little bit, probably from a speed bump or two. Corvette's worst nightmare is speed bumps. So, but at any rate, that's how I dealt with it for now. The exhaust isn't in bad enough shape to replace it at this point. You never know, I might do it later, but so it's just the way I dealt with it for now. All right, so these last few images and videos here are just me putting the panels back on. Of course, I got the one plastic piece missing from the that you put the screw in on this one, so I've just got a wall anchor in place, and here I'm just putting the screws in. So that's pretty much it. I tried to include everything again. I did this about 2 years ago, and most of this I'm trying to remember, do from memory. So hopefully I included everything. If there's something I forgot, let me know. Leave some comments. I appreciate the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.